Hello everyone, I am here with 𝗖𝗓𝗂𝗧𝗂 today in the midst of 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗡 around the world. We managed to meet, which is awesome. I'm super excited for 𝗖𝗓𝗂𝗧𝗂 to share her story with us. And I'm just going to start by asking you, 𝗖𝗓𝗂𝗧𝗂, how old you were when you found out you had cancer, and a little bit of a background on your story.
I was 55 years old when I found out that I had cancer, but I found out a year before that I had a tumor. But I waited 1 year, which of course nobody will recommend that for you to wait 1 year, predicated on one doctor telling me that it may not be anything serious. So
they saw the tumor in a scan. And where was the tumor?
It was in my right femur.
And they sent you home and they said, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It's probably nothing. It's probably been there since you were a child.
Wow.
You know,
and you've never had problems with your leg or?
Never. Extremely active, workout, 5-6 times a week. Back then I was having, I thought I had patellar tendinitis. That was one of the things. I was actually being treated for another condition, which is called 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗓, which is monoclonal gammopathy of unspecified significance.
Wow.
So it's a precursor to multiple myeloma, which is a blood cancer.
Right.
So
and why did you come up to this diagnosis? Were you feeling pain or were you having problems?
No pain. It's part of the initial diagnosis process for 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗓 is a skeletal survey.
Yeah.
Because they want to see if your bones, any of your bones, especially your long bones, are showing anything that looks like Swiss cheese. Any little holes in your blood, which would mean that you've already progressed to multiple myeloma instead of the precursor condition.
But they did that because you were feeling unwell for some reason, or why did you go?
It showed up in a blood test that my plasma looked different.
Oh, okay.
So my red blood cells looked, at the time, the doctor who did not have that background, this is not an oncologist originally, was saying, your blood looks funny. It looks, she could only describe it in layman's terms, her own layman's terms were, it looks puffy. Your blood cells look puffy. They're enlarged, your red blood cells. So that's initially what sent me to somebody else to look at it. And then another person, another internist said, no, you have to go to an oncologist.
Right.
This doesn't look right. This could be serious. So.
And then the oncologist is the one that found initially the tumor, and that.
She's the one that, during originally when they think you have 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗓, they do a series of tests. It was almost a year of tests coming back and just trying to figure out what it was. They want to rule out leukemia. They want to rule out, there's all these other conditions that it could be.
Yeah.
So as part of that, you have to have every bone surveyed in your body to make sure. And that's how they reach that diagnosis. So the oncologist is the one, my medical oncologist is the one who said, we want to see what else there is. So I ended up going to an orthopedic oncologist.
Yeah.
Who then sat me down and said, you have cancer. Because based on in between the time, and remember earlier I said I had waited a year because they were saying it's probably nothing. People get things that are called 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗓, which are just benign inside of your bones.
Yeah.
So of course mine grew, which means an 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗓 doesn't grow. And that's a whole other story where, after the surgery, they're finding out all these other things, but the 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗓 or the tumor, it grew a little bit. So that's what convinced the other doctor I had 2 opinions that it's absolutely cancer. You have cancer.
So basically from a blood test, you start going through all the tests. Obviously they saw that your blood didn't look right.
Right.
And they got into, they kind of ruled it out, all the blood, actually, like the leukemia and all of those kind of cancers and all of the other conditions. And because they couldn't find anything, they kind of thought that what they diagnosed you with is that
with the cancer was just a femoral tumor. But I have I still have 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗧. That didn't go away. But 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗧 likely saved my life. That's what my orthopedic oncologist says, because if you don't treat it, if it morphs into something that's more serious, it could rupture your bone. There's all these other things that can happen. But if you catch it early in stage 0 to 1, then you have a 100%, likely 100% chance of survival.
Right. Okay. So after that, when he sat down with you and said, this is cancer, so it's not 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗧 anymore. Well, it's not only 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗧 anymore. It is,
right.
It is, we're diagnosing you with cancer, bone cancer.
Yes.
What did they say to you?
He just looked at me and said, you have bone cancer. And I just, as a cancer survivor, when someone initially tells you you have cancer, you hear the words, but then after that, they're still talking, but you may not hear. That's why they make you come back, because you really just don't hear anything after that. I can remember telling him that's impossible.
Yeah.
That I'm a picture of health. I do this, I do that. I follow a very regimented diet because of my other condition. And he was just positive that this was bone cancer.
Right.
There's no test that they can do to aspirate your, like you can normally do to check out a tumor in other parts of your body, to do a biopsy. You can't do a biopsy for this.
Right. Okay.
So of course,
so how did you, obviously back then you didn't know anything about bone cancer either?
No, I'm an expert now, but back then, there's a twist to this story too. So I am, like I said, I was 55 years old. So I just figured I'm just so young I'm not ready for anything like that. I don't think anyone who gets a diagnosis is ready to hear that diagnosis. So I refused to believe that I had cancer. I was like, no, that's impossible, because I already have a condition that with a progression rate of 1 to 1.5% per year, that I'm going to get multiple myeloma, for which there's no cure for.
Yeah.
You have a 5-year life expectancy.
Right, yeah.
Yes, when you get that. So I was like, there's no way it's impossible.
Yeah.
There's just no way. So I just kept doing what I was doing. And
but did they give you was there a treatment for it, or did they suggest
that was a whole other thing. This is in the end of August of that year. Yeah. And I asked him, I was having a huge celebration here at my home with like 20 people staying in my home for the holidays. I asked him if I could just put this off until after Christmas.
Yeah.
This would be great. And he said, you can't even wait like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The surgery was within 2.5 weeks of him telling me that. He's like, I'm getting you on the schedule immediately, because if you progress past whatever stage you are, then you may not, it may or may not be survivable.
So back then, do you remember what you felt like when he told you, you had bone cancer as well?
I remember I just went to my car. I was by myself. My husband and I lived bi-coastally. So he was, on the other side of the country at that time. I got in the car and I just called him and I just started bawling.
Yeah.
Like they told me I have cancer, I'm here, I'm by myself. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I'm afraid. That lasted maybe 1 day.
Yeah.
Because I still refused to believe that I had cancer. I started reading everything that I could.
Yeah.
My family, I don't know if you're a woman of faith, but my family immediately started praying for a 0 cancer result.
Yeah.
0 cancer, like not just like you're going to get through this, but you're not going to have cancer.
Yeah.
You're not going to have cancer. So, fast forward to the surgery, which was, I'd never been in the...
They took the tumor out from your femur.
Yes, they have to, they take the top part of your bone off where that is. They take the tumor out and, of course, margins on each side to make sure they got everything. And that's how he knew that it had grown. You know, I couldn't feel anything. I was still telling him, I do not have cancer.
Wow.
I do not have cancer, you know, because every day my family would tell me, no, you know, this is impossible.
Yeah.
And after a while,
and you were not feeling anything, right? You're not in pain, and you're not.
No pain at all, zero pain. But the irony of this is that after everything was done, you know, they measure, you start here, and then, you know, they had an original scan from the year before.
Okay. They had
so they already knew
it.
He knew this isn't going to be an 𝗕𝗢𝗄𝗯, which is benign. This is going to be stage 0 to 1 bone cancer. Yeah. I read, you know, like I said, I started reading everything that I could, eating. I just continued doing what I was doing, and I didn't believe it. Terrified going into surgery, because I'm thinking, that's where I wavered a little bit, because I'd never been in the hospital before.
Wow. And it's a
birth.
Big operation.
That was the last time I had been in the hospital, was when I was born.
Yeah.
You know, and at that age, you just figure you've dodged so many bullets already with, you know, various things. He goes in, he takes it out. He says, you know, it was bigger. We're lucky we caught it. We'll send it to the pathologist. And, you know, that waiting to find out if, was it this or was it that?
Yeah. And you still hang on to the possibility of not being cancer, right? Like, no, they just going to go to the biopsy or whatever, and they're going to find that it wasn't cancer. There was nothing.
Well, this is where it gets, it's inexplicable. The pathology report comes back, and they said it had every marker for cancer, but they couldn't find cancer within the tumor. Even though
it gives me goosebumps now thinking about your family crying.
Yes, the difference between, and I'll say it again, having an 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗯 and a chondrosarcoma, which is what he was telling me, you absolutely have, absolutely. And this is why it's so important to believe the diagnosis, but not necessarily your prognosis. Sometimes they get things wrong, but yes, you should believe what they say. But this is one of the times where I just felt in my gut, no. The pathologist report, honestly, it says, basically there's no reason why this isn't presenting as cancer, because 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗯s do not grow.
Okay.
They do not grow. So the doctor is still like, he has no explanation. Doctors are scientists, so of course, zero explanation.
So it was almost like in between, right? So it had grown, but it still
it had grown in that
but
year,
they could
almost
pinpoint and say is 100% cancer, or what it looks like on a person that has a bone cancer.
The reason is it 100% presents as bone cancer, because 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗯s do not grow past the age of like 23.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. They grow to a certain age. That's why most people, when you have an 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗯, it's been in your body for years. They never even find them in most people. You just don't even know, you know, that you have it. So having my precursor condition, for which, well, you know, I never want to say I'm going to get multiple myeloma. Because I survived this. You know, so the unfortunate thing was, no, it was a miracle. For me, it was a miracle that the doctor, I had two opinions. That yes, you absolutely have this. And my important message for people is, yes, believe absolutely what your doctors say, but there are so many things that are out of our control, but your belief level also
so important.
Can be, when I tell that story all the time, yes, I'm still a bone cancer survivor, because basically 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗯s do not grow.
Do not grow, exactly.
It's
but
impossible.
You had two opinions. One, which is a doctor who wanted to keep on his scientific, you know, it's grown, so therefore I'm going to say it's cancer. But the other one is it's grown, but still we can't say it is cancer because the pathology doesn't say it's cancer.
Well, they don't want a lawsuit either, so they're not.
No,
they're never going to say it wasn't cancer.
I know,
You look at my
I know.
file; they're never going to tell you that because nobody wants a lawsuit. But you know,
but he'll be saying like you're better off having that off your body, out of your body, kind of thing, because you know it has grown, and we don't want anything that is growing on your body.
Well, I'm higher risk too because I have 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓, which means I already have a plasma cell disorder, which, you know, I'm 56 now, I'll be 57 soon. I've already had this for years.
No,
So the progression rate, I already know that. You know, it's something that could kill me, but I'm approaching this in the exact same way.
Exactly. So when you were diagnosed with the 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓, what did you change in your life? Because that was the year, wasn't it, that you were waiting for? So you're diagnosed with 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓, and then, you know, which is kind of a chronic disease in a way, right? Because you need to kind of, well, there's maybe stuff that you can do, but not so much a cure.
There is no cure.
Yeah.
I mean, just like with multiple myeloma, you get multiple myeloma, you have a 5-year life expectancy if you're lucky, because it's going to, you know, take over the entirety of your body. The first thing that I did, and actually, yes, being told you have bone cancer was incredibly scary. Having 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, which, you know, they can't tell you it's not cancer.
No, it's not.
It's the precursor to cancer.
Okay.
You have a plasma cell disorder where your immunoglobulin is, it's one step away from cancer.
Okay.
But just like with any type of cancer, well, not any type of cancer, but I want to say diet is hugely important.
Yeah.
So
I mean, for me, the comparison would be like when people get polyps in their colon, like in the bowel cancer, right? And they get, so they take the polyps out and they send it to the labs, and the labs can say the polyps are precancerous or the polyps are benign. So
this is a little different in that, so they can take that out of you. The only thing this can do is progress. The only thing this can do is progress.
Yeah.
For
because
you.
They can't take off your blood out of you.
Yeah, I mean, for the rest of my life, every 3 months, I have to have a series of tests.
Okay.
For the rest of my life. So there's some years where you feel really good, and others where you wonder why other people, there's 3 steps to this, where one is 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, which I have now, and I've stabilized it.
Okay.
In the last year, which is, anybody knows, like if you have anything, or if you've had cancer before, maybe you're fearful it's coming back.
Yeah.
So having this condition, it puts you in the mindset that next year you may have cancer. And there's really no great treatment for multiple myeloma. But my goal for myself and for anybody else who might be scared or who has the same condition, which, you know, it's, the odd thing is a lot of life insurance companies, they'll treat it as cancer.
Oh, right.
And you can't get life insurance. So that's one of those things. But just know that you have somewhat control of getting to that next level.
Yeah.
Based on lifestyle, and, you know, diet is hugely important.
So is that what you did? You changed. So as soon as you got diagnosed with 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, you kind of start reading about it and you start changing your diet. And that was 2 years ago, did you say?
That was in 2016.
So 4 years ago now.
Yes, but the awful thing, the unfortunate thing I'll say, is that my blood changed in 2011. So
so that's 5 years before that.
Yes, so that, coupled with what they estimate your progression rate is, that is what keeps me on track.
So what happened in
now
2011 when they did your bloods? What happened in 2011 when you did your bloods and they saw
it was a routine physical?
But they didn't say to you you've got 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 or anything like that.
No, in fact, it just went on for years. You know, I ended up moving to another state and having to get another doctor, and that's when the other doctor found it. But
So
all
it's
of those
there
years,
kind of for all of those years. So was it like just the red cells and the white cells not looking?
she was very vague initially with,
Oh,
you know, my internist, because that's not her area of expertise.
yeah.
So I don't really fault her. And I didn't know then what I obviously know now about, you know, what are the questions that you have to ask for a condition that could likely kill you before you're like 70 years old? What do I need to be asking?
Yeah.
One of the key things that I've mentioned this before with diet. So I approach this as, there was a book called The Metabolic Approach to Cancer, which you and I had talked about briefly before. That is the book that I started seeing that there were so many other things that you don't blame yourself for getting this condition, or because they don't know what causes this particular condition. I think it's 1% of the population has this.
Wow.
So my brother has it as well.
But he hasn't.
He has a different type than I do. There's 3 subtypes. So he has another type that's different than what I have. But it's scary still, because you know that you might have another battle for this. The one thing about the tumor was, okay, well, I'm so thankful that they were able to get this out, but the recovery was more than a year for me, because it's treated as you had bone cancer. So the treatment is exactly, not the treatment, but the surgery is exactly the same, and the recovery is exactly the same.
No, it's massive surgery. I bet it was a massive surgery.
It was, it was awful, but I'm here to tell the tale, and hopefully to encourage people to, yes, it's scary, but walk forward in it and arm yourself with knowledge.
I know, I was going to say, so it's just like, it sounds like you took ownership of your health as well, right? Because nobody told you when you were diagnosed with 𝗕𝗢𝗓, nobody told you to read a book around the metabolic, like the book that you talked about. So, it was not even considered cancer, but yet you kind of knew that, by reading that you needed to.
Well, I mean, you're treated the same. I'm treated at a cancer center. I mean, I have to go to a cancer center every 3 months. There's a series of things that you have to do. There are things that you do have to stay on top of that I think that a lot of cancer patients are told the same thing. Like you need to stay on top of your vitamin D.
Yeah.
You need to stay on top of, your B12, things that impact your immune system that could harm you.
Did your oncologist tell you that?
Yes. I mean, that's one of the things for this particular issue, they're constantly monitoring.
My oncologist never told me that. I know that because of everything that I've read, but no, they've never. I mean, they obviously check. They check. I get checked as well every 3 months with tests, and but unless there is a problem, it's not something that they will proactively say to me, do you know that you need to keep on top of your vitamin D and your B12?
The reason for this is because there's a criteria. There's something, I think it's called CRAB, and I forget what it's an acronym for, but renal, they're checking all these different things. Yeah. Anemia is very bad.
Yeah, I know. I was anemic for a whole year before I got diagnosed with cancer.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, if I get anemia, then you can start sliding you can slide in either direction. So for this particular condition, you're always looking at the numbers for, those things. Are you anemic?
Yeah.
Do you have enough B12? Because all of those things you don't want to start progressing.
No. Yeah.
So you want to do
that is deficient in your body. It just gives an opportunity, right, for the cancer or for whatever is inside your body that it's not to kind of start growing or taking over.
Yeah. So now that's my thing. I treat myself as if I already had multiple myeloma. I treat myself as if they've already told me you have this, so you have to watch out for these things.
Wow.
So I'm already living that, trying to see what I can do to slow the process or completely stop it in its tracks.
So how hard was for you to change your diet? Like how?
It was hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard, even though I had been a health coach for years,
Wow.
you know, helping other people get healthy. But apparently
and you were healthy before, right? Like you mentioned, you were, you know, going to the gym, and you were healthy.
I was working out all the time. I was eating what I thought was well,
Okay.
but it was still the standard American diet,
Yeah.
high in carbohydrates, you know, high in sugar, a lot of weekend binging, even though I would be good during the week. And those are the things that, you know,
before you know, it's actually too much. It's too much for anybody's body, but we are led to believe that that's okay and that's normal.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know people who, you know, I had a friend whose mother had leukemia, and she was giving her health shakes that were really high in carbohydrates and sugar, which, you know, those are the things where you just have to be careful. I mean, knowledge is power for your nutrition when you have any condition, not just cancer, but for autoimmune and other things that you can help, you know, you want to prolong your life.
Definitely. And I think for me as well, is when I got told I had cancer, it wasn't so much about surviving, but it was, I didn't want to sit on that chair anymore. You know, I didn't want to go through what I had to go through. I didn't want to go under the knife again. You know, I didn't want to go, you know, it was tough. And I wanted to live a healthy life. And this is something that I work on it every single day.
Right.
And that is what motivates me. You know, people ask me, don't you feel like having a drink? And I was like, no, because you know, I've been there, and I've done lots of that, and now I've got different priorities in my life. You know, I value other things as well.
Yes, that's
why. So if you look back, like, you know, you mentioned, you know, a couple of times, like, not that you know, we can't be blind ourselves, but if you think, like, why do you think you got cancer? Like, do you have like a gut feeling of something that you...
Well, that's one of the things, you know, I've done so much research on why do some people get this one particular thing that will likely, hopefully not likely, but may kill them. You have a progression rate, and you can slow it down.
Yeah.
They don't know why some people get it. The scientific community or the medical community is wondering if it could have been something environmental.
Okay.
You know, but there are people who, I didn't grow up on a farm. You know, a lot of people who grew up on farms, they have this, or people who are in a war have this, like veterans, a high percentage of, you know, not high,
that could be related to, well, diet or stress as well, right? As well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, they just don't know why some get it and some don't. And does it run in families? They don't even know that. Is it a coincidence?
It's not considered as a genetic. No, it's not.
They don't know.
They
actually don't know. But there have been families where, like, all the siblings all had multiple myeloma. You know, but in my family, we're a family of 4 kids. Only 2 of us have it.
Yeah.
And we all grew up in the same house, in the same environment, but they just don't know enough about why.
Yeah.
And you can't treat it. They only treat you when you, at the next stage, which is smoldering multiple myeloma.
Yeah. Which is like
where your numbers, that's, you know, it's scary. There's only, you know, the treatment is, you know, it's harsh.
Yeah.
It's harsh. Like any treatment, you're trying to stave off progression.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you don't have to go through that again. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you look back, I mean, is there anything else, like, apart from the diet, that you feel that you've changed in your life as well?
Yes. So the diet itself, I know it's not for everyone. I follow a well-formulated ketogenic diet, which isn't like, you know, you see people, I'm eating, not that I don't want to say that, because whatever gets you through your day, gets you through your day. But for me, I feel like I have more control if I'm following something that is dense in nutrition.
Yeah.
You know, I knew I needed to go to low carbohydrate, which now is, you know, extremely low. It's ketogenic, so it's very low.
But when you say ketogenic as well, because I read a lot about diet, and I eat a plant-based diet. You're also not eating, you know, bacon and eggs for breakfast
No,
and steak for dinner. And I think that's when people get a bit,
yes.
you know, a bit confused about the ketogenic diet. I think the ketogenic diet that you eat is still very, very high in green leaf vegetables. And
a well-formulated ketogenic diet is moderate protein.
yeah.
You're not going over the top with protein. I try and, you know, still have my vegetables. I mean, I miss fruit because fruit's so high in sugar.
Yeah.
So I really don't have a lot of fruit, but I've been off of sugar for over 2 years.
And did you mention as well earlier that you've managed to stabilize the situation in the last year? So you changed your diet 2 years ago?
Yes, the
and
first
you
year,
stabilized.
within the last year. The first year doing keto, I made so many mistakes that I didn't understand what well-formulated meant.
Yeah.
You know, trying shortcuts because we're human. You know, we want things to be easy. I took a lot of shortcuts. Yeah, you know, drinking ketones, trying things that were just, there are no shortcuts. You know,
but you know what I think is beautiful about this is that, one, obviously you stuck at it. You know, you know, kind of kept working on it, you know, and it takes time for our bodies as well to heal.
Yes.
You know, and I think that is, you know, like when you look at it 2 years, but then when you look at your blood, like when you talk about your bloods being, you know, off balance from 2011 to 16, so 5 years, it takes time for disease to grow, but it also takes time for health to grow inside our bodies. And this is what people they don't want to, you know, they don't want to stick to it. They don't want to trust the process because, you know, people just want instant gratification, and it doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, I think it is easier because I have a life-threatening condition. So that
I don't think it is easy, because you probably have seen when you go to have your blood test and you see people on the reception.
Chemo.
You know, and also like, you know, being treated for conditions like, you know, that they're life-threatening as well. And and you know that they are not eating the best diet. That they are not potentially doing, you know, the best they can.
You have to do what you have to do. You know, out of a family of 6, you know, including my parents, 4 of us have had cancer. You know, have been, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then not counting my brother, who also has the precursor condition that I have. He hasn't had cancer, but all of us have had some form of something.
Do you think there was anything in the environment, like you mentioned about the environment where you lived?
Just a normal middle-class neighborhood, you know, nothing where there was, you know, like a plant or anything.
Or anything like that. Okay, no. Yeah.
We'll never know. Both of my parents, I mean, they smoked when we were younger.
My mom
they both ended up getting cancer. My one sister ended up with cancer as well, with breast cancer. So you just, I think you don't know.
No.
You know, is it environment, or is it something that is in our blood that we just get cancer?
So I would just say that everybody have changed their diet. Yeah. So this is
one sister has changed her diet. She didn't end up with cancer, but she ended up with something else. But she did change her diet. She also follows a very strict ketogenic diet, or we call it just a lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle change. You have to become accustomed to eating in that way where you don't feel deprived and you don't feel like everybody else is getting to live.
Yeah.
You know, because in reality, you are getting to live because you are helping to prolong your life by changing how you function, you know, what you feed yourself.
Yeah.
So think of it
and
as
it's like I said, it's a mindset shift. It's not, you don't want to, you know, I don't live feeling, you know, I want to go back to binge drinking every weekend or eating salami and cheese like I used to. I don't feel like that, because And in actual, I have done that and I have enjoyed all of those things before, but that doesn't, I acknowledge and I accept that it doesn't serve me anymore. You know,
Right.
I really enjoy waking up with a clear mind,
Right.
a clear head,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Yes.
having lots of energy and doing my exercise. I enjoy other things now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the first week actually that I've gotten back to really exercising, where you and I had touched on that, but you know, it's already Wednesday and I've already been at it twice this week, which with dance cardio, which it feels good to move my body in that way and know that I'm doing something that's good for myself. Yeah. That, you know, I have to go back to the doctor in June for more tests. So, you know, there's that scary period, maybe a couple days before you're tested and a couple days after you're tested.
Yeah.
That you hope that everything you've been doing is paying off.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
You know, you don't want to.
And what would you say it's been the most positive things, or the most positive thing that happened since your diagnosis?
Oh, well, the change in lifestyle for one. And one of the things, when the doctor told me you have bone cancer, and I kept saying, no, I don't. I have completely shifted my mindset and try to stay in that mindset for my 𝗕𝗓𝗄 as well. You know, where I feel I'm very positive in my mindset. We choose our happiness, even though, look, the world around us right now is crazy. But you can choose to see your world as burning down. Yeah. Or you can choose to see that you're going to be the one putting out the fire, you know, for yourself. So for me, I am choosing that way. Before, you know, I'm sure it was a lot, I let things bother me now more then. Now I'm just like, well, you know, this last 2 years has been, you know, just a lot of stuff going on health-wise for me.
Just
so
a lot less stress, right? And then less bothered about small things, and you just don't, hold on.
You just can't. Anymore. I mean, I don't know if I'd mentioned before, after my surgery on my femur, I ended up with a very resistant blood clot, which it turns out when you have 𝗕𝗓𝗄, you are more susceptible to blood clots, which you can be more susceptible. So of course I drew the short straw after, you know, after my surgery, because I ended up, even though I was up and around, I made myself get up every day, you know, even though the pain was unimaginable. I mean, unimaginable, because your bone is trying to fuse back together with the cement, and the bone graft was done with cement. So you can feel, I still every day can feel, you know, my scar hurts, all those things. So how you approach your pain and the things that are happening to you can actually either make you feel better or worse. Yeah. You know, and I get that about you too. I bet you were, you know, mindset is everything.
Yeah. During treatment, you know, I was in so much pain for so many reasons. And you go to the doctor and you tell them, because they ask you, are you in pain? And I'll say, I'll take paracetamol. No, I don't want to take paracetamol. Well, why do you want to take it? That's because I'm already taking enough drugs. I don't want to take any more drugs. And they used to get really upset with me. But I used to drag myself out of bed to go for a walk when my whole body was hurting, and I didn't feel like it, and it was awful. But I knew that I had to do that.
Absolutely. And I think that's, you know, part of the process where it was the same for me. You come home with a big bottle of pills, you know, painkillers. I think I took 3. Yeah. And I still have the bottle here where.
And they'd be strong pills.
Well, they would knock me out. Yeah. You know, and I didn't feel like myself. So. Yeah. You know.
Amazing. So what does life look like now for you? So 2 years on from all of this.
It'll be 2 years this September, and I feel
you look
like
amazing. You look incredible. You look amazing.
I'm gonna go into this, you know, this year, of course, we have everything going on right now, but I feel good. Yeah. I feel good. I think part of it is I'm so happy that I have stabilized the condition.
That's a massive
the doctor is at the point where she's putting happy faces on my lab reports. So yeah, I mean, that's
have they complimented you for changing your diet and for say, you know, have they recognized the work that you've done?
He says, whatever you're doing, keep doing that.
Yeah, but no more questions around the kind of,
You know, they're not really trained in nutrition, so I also have a regimen of supplements that I take that I clear it with her first, with the oncologist to see. You know, I was on blood thinners for like a year, which is longer than people normally stay on a blood thinner after a blood clot. But I clear it with her. She may or may not know exactly what that is. But she's like, if it's working, you know, but I stick to those.
Yeah.
On top of the nutrition and, you know, try and fill in those gaps. And I feel great.
It's working.
I mean, it has worked. Life is good. Like I said, every 3 months. I'm hoping to go to every 6 months after my next set of labs, but that's scary.
So it's something that would you be able to clear like after 5 years and then they'll check you? No. Okay. So that is something
for the rest of your life. It'll either be three months or 6 months for me.
Okay.
Depending on what my numbers look like every time I go.
Okay. Yeah.
But, you know, it's one of those, the reason that they test you so often is because say you do 3 months and then you go to 6 months to a year, you could progress to multiple myeloma within that time period.
And because it's in your blood, it's too, you need to.
Yes. And you have that short window to figure out what your treatment, you know, what the treatment protocols will be. You know, you have a short period of time to figure a lot of stuff out. So I'm more comfortable with the shorter window of testing. I don't care. It's 6 vials of blood every, you know, whatever, 3 months.
And do you have to do any scans or no?
They will eventually, based on my labs, they'll have to do a bone marrow biopsy.
Oh.
The bone marrow biopsy, you know, that I'm not looking forward to. My doctor now says it's not warranted because I have stopped progressing for today. So for today, I don't need the bone marrow biopsy, but there's, you know, it depends on your oncologist. Some oncologists want you to get that as a baseline.
Yeah. Okay. But if you stabilize, I think it's great that they don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that yet.
No. If you don't need to, like if it, you know, like if it warrants it, fine. But if you don't need to, so what would you say to somebody who's been diagnosed with 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗓, let's say, which is a precursor of multiple myeloma or a bone cancer? If somebody was diagnosed today, what would you say to that person?
I would say, this is the one, my takeaway from everything, and I said this earlier, believe the diagnosis, but do not believe your prognosis.
Yeah.
So try and live your life, arm yourself up with information on whatever your condition is, whatever your cancer is, whatever the condition is, prepare yourself so that you can go into your appointments and know what the questions to ask, because it's so scary, you know, in the beginning. So just arm yourself. And try and work on your mindset.
It's everything. The mindset, isn't it? It's scary. I know. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's something they have to work daily on it. Just, you know, when you're living with a condition like that, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, give yourself a few days after you hear, you know, uses to let that sink in. And then afterwards, prepare yourself for whatever your battle is, you know, for whatever. Because remember, at the time when I received the bone cancer diagnosis, I didn't know anything except that I wanted to live.
I know.
You know, I wasn't ready to go.
Yeah.
I haven't done everything I have, you know, that I want to do in my life and, you know, serving others and doing things. So you just really have to take that time.
Definitely.
However long it is for you, but then just start working on yourself.
Definitely. And how have you changed much around your work life as well, like since your diagnosis, or have you always? Yes and no. I mean, I help my husband run our business, and I own a company on my own, and I do legal consulting for one client that I've had forever, but I work a lot. But you
have to learn early on when you find this out to set boundaries.
Yeah.
Because anytime, any cancer, you have got to minimize your stress.
Yeah.
And that includes even with the 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓. That is one thing that my oncologist has already told me. You have to really watch your stress levels and, you know, all of that, because all of that
health needs to come first, isn't it? Like your health needs to, you know, work needs to come second.
Yes. Yeah. You want to do everything to stave off progression. You can somewhat, you can't control it, but you have the power to predict how you walk, you know, how you'll be when you walk forward into this. So
awesome.
I'm happy.
You look amazing. That is an amazing story. That's beautiful that you know, you have managed to get on top of it. I think, you know, you've got a perfect formula for yourself. And I think it's important as well for people to inform themselves and find them for themselves their own balance on the whole diet thing, because I think that, you know, somebody can tell them exactly what to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but they need to be part of it. They need to be able to, you know, understand, you know, like the whole nutrition as a whole and make their own choices, so they can before you know, you have a plan, you've made that plan for yourself, and that plan works for you because you own that plan. And I think that is so important.
Yes. And the just one last takeaway was, people will say it's hard. And yes, it can be hard, but also cut yourself some slack.
Yeah.
In that time period where you're learning how to handle things, you know, nutrition, whatever your treatment plan is, cut yourself some slack.
Yeah. And on that note, I mean, what do you think motivated you? Like, you know, because you said, you know, changing my diet was really hard. What motivated you to change your diet? And what would you say to somebody who's sitting at home going, oh, I can't be bothered. This is just too hard. I can't live without sugar. I can't do this. I can't do that. What would you say to that person?
I would just ask them, do you want to live?
Yeah.
Food is medicine. That was the one thing that I kept telling myself. Food is medicine. Instead of, look, you get a diagnosis where someone says you're either going to die, or in my case, your progression rate is 1 to 1.5% or maybe greater per year. You're going to want to change your diet.
Yeah.
Because you're going to want, that's my motivation, is I have not done everything that I've been put here to do.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it easier for me.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's, I think, what people need to connect to, right? They need to connect to their whys, and they need to, because it's not easy, but it is possible.
And if you can't do it for yourself, do it for those who love you. I mean, if that is your motivation, like you're motivated by, I can't see my kids alone, or how would my husband survive without me? Let that be your motivating factor for you.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because that helps.
Yeah, that's beautiful said. Yeah.
You know, maybe you give yourself a little treat once a week. You just relearn everything.
Yeah.
I was a baker for years. For me, baking is pleasure. You know, it's relaxing, it's therapy. And you can't do that on a ketogenic diet. I had to relearn everything, you know, and now I'm
you bake, right? But it's just different ingredients.
I'm a full-on ketogenic baker. You know, there's a coffee cake in my kitchen right now that I made, you know, 2 days ago that
awesome.
You can't tell the difference. So
perfect.
Eat to live.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Stacey, for your time.
Welcome.
I really appreciate you. I'm sure your message will resonate with lots of people.
I'm glad, even if it just reaches one person, just,
yes,
you know,
definitely
live your life and be happy.
And keep doing what you're doing, because you look amazing.
Thank you so much. We'll chat soon.
Yes, take care. See you.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Bye.